Jai Shri Radhe. So Vaishnav Jai Shri Krishna. Continuing the reading of the Dosa Bhaban Vaishnav Varta, story of the 252 Vaishnav disciples of Sri Gosaiji. Today is day 118 and Varta 94, Paramanand Soni continued, part 2. Once some pundits came to debate with Sri Gosaiji from Varanasi and Prayag. At the moment that they arrived, Sri Gosaiji was in Seva, so Paramanand Soni welcomed them carefully and sat them down. Paramanand Soni asked them what they had come to ask. Ask me, because Sri Gosaiji is in Seva. The pundits replied, well, who do you think you are to give us answers? You know nothing about the Vedas nor the Shastras. Paramanand Soni said, okay then, please sit and wait. Sri Gosaiji will answer you when he has completed his Seva. Paramanand Soni then inquired from those pundits the meaning of one verse from the Ras Panchadhyaya of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He asked them the meaning of the verse. The pundits gave a short explanation. Paramanand Soni then explained the verse completely. The pundits began to look at each other, saying, well, brother, if we need to ask anything, we should ask this guy. When his labour caste disciple is capable of such a fine answer, then what to speak of his guru? We will not ever be able to defeat him in debate. Reasoning thus, they asked Paramanand Soni everything they had come to ask. Paramanand Soni gave them such answers based on the Vedas and Shastras that they were left with absolutely nothing more. The pundits stood before him with folded hands and said, you are most blessed. When the labourer caste disciple of Sri Gosaiji is capable of giving an answer as if Saraswati shines through him, then what to say about how great his guru must be? Thus they reconciliated themselves and departed and left. 2 hours later, Sri Gosaiji came out from his seva and began to sit in his betak. One Vaishnav told him, O great Maharaj, some pundits had come here from Varanasi and Prayag to debate with you. Paramanand Soni rendered them speechless. They were pacified and left. Sri Gosaiji gave this answer. Paramanand Soni has unshakable faith in Sri Acharyaji and Sri Govardhanaji. Therefore there is no surprise. Vaishnavas should have this type of firm faith. For those who have such faith have fully surrendered themselves unto the Lord. Whatever they think comes true. They can achieve whatever comes into their mind. If a Vaishnava has no such faith, then they will experience only regret and difficulties. Here Sri Gosaiji definitely explains how a Vaishnava should be. Thus concludes Varta 94, the story of Paramanand Soni, who was such an accomplished Vaishnava and whose tale truly has no end. Continuing with Varta 95, the story of Ramdas, a renunciate Brahmin from Kambaich. This is a devotee of Sattvic disposition in the eternal Leela. His name is Kamesuri, who manifests from Nagavelika and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. Here he was born into a Brahmin family in Kambaich. A group of Vaishnavas travelled from Kambaich in Gujarat to have the holy site of Sri Govardhanaji. Ramdas was amongst them. He had a renounced nature and begged for supplies to live on. In the evenings he would sit in the company of other Vaishnavas. He would listen to their divine discourses. In this way the group arrived in Jatipura after some days. He had the holy site of Srinathji. One time Sri Gosaiji was resident in Srinathji Dwar, Jatipura. Ramdas came to have his sight. He prostrated before him and supplicated, O Maharaj, please initiate me with the Lord's name. Sri Gosaiji told him to go to bathe and then return. Ramdas did just that, and Sri Gosaiji blessed him with the name initiation. Then Sri Gosaiji asked him, O Ramdas, what is your heart's desire? Ramdasji replied, it is my great good fortune that you have blessed me and accepted me as your disciple. Now I do not wish to go anywhere else. I wish to follow your every instruction. Sri Gosaiji told him to sit in front of the Dandavati Shila for a full 6 months and chant the 8-syllable mantra of refuge. Then I will give you further instruction. Ramdas happily went to sit by the Dandavati Shila. He would constantly chant the 8-syllable mantra on his Japamala rosary. 6 months passed in this way. Ramdas again approached Sri Gosaiji and asked, O Maharaj, I have completed 6 months chanting the 8-syllable mantra. Now what should I do? Sri Gosaiji spoke. Well, Ramdas, tomorrow I will give you the Brahmasambandha initiation. Today have the holy site of Sri Govardhanaji. Sri Gosaiji then bathed and entered his seva on top of the Sri Giriraj mountain. After he had made the afternoon fruit offerings, the temple curtains opened. All the Vaishnavas had the holy site of Srinathji. When Ramdas had this very divine vision, he fell into a swoon. It took him a whole hour to regain consciousness of his body. He got up. The temple cook told Sri Gosaiji what had happened. When Sri Gosaiji had offered the evening meal, he came out of the temple and asked Ramdas what had happened. Ramdasji replied, O Maharaj, by your grace, Sri Govardhanaji granted me his divine vision, and my mind became totally struck on that form. stuck on that form. Sri Gosaiji told him just how fortunate he was to have been blessed by Srinathji with such a vision. When the time came, Sri Gosaiji accepted back the evening offerings as prasad and offered the Lord sweet and spiced palm leaves. When he had performed the evening arti and settled Srinathji down to take rest for the night, Sri Gosaiji came out of the temple and settled down the mountain. Ram Das followed him. Sri Gosaiji sat in his betak and Ram Das bowed low to him before taking his leave. He went to sit close to the Dandavati Shila. For the whole night he relished the bliss of Sri Govardhanaji's nectar form. Early in the morning he bathed and went to see Sri Gosaiji and requested him to grant him the Brahmasambandh initiation. Sri Gosaiji said that he would initiate Ramdas in Srinathji's close proximity when Srinathji's adornment had been completed. Ramdas went to the temple and sat there to wait. Sri Gosaiji bathed and ascended the mountain. He woke Srinathji and made the early morning offerings. When the time was right to accept back those offerings as prasad, Sri Gosaiji performed the early morning light ceremony, completed his adornment, and then he called Ramdas inside to be initiated with Brahmasambandh. Ramdas then asked Sri Gosaiji to tell him exactly what he should do next. Sri Gosaiji spoke, "O Ramdas, now you must sit in front of the Dandavati Shila and chant the 5-syllable mantra." Ramdasji did exactly this. He then came and bowed to Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji said, "Now your mind is pure enough, now it will not wander." Ramdas requested Sri Gosaiji to grant him some seva. Sri Gosaiji gave a position in the room where fruit and vegetables were prepared. On the very day that Ramdas bathed to join the vegetable service, Sri Govardhanaji appeared before him and said, "I am going to Gulal Kund. Come there soon, bringing some cooling fruits with you." Ramdas swiftly prepared some fruits and flowers and put and some other cooling preparations. He put them in a basket and covered them up safely and then went to Gulal Kund. Srinathji asked Ramdas if he had brought what he had requested, and he said that he had. He opened the bundle and presented all the stuff to Srinathji. The Lord partook of it together with his crowd of cowherd friends. Ramdas praised his good fortune to have been able to witness all of this. Meanwhile, Sri Gosaiji had bathed and ascended the Sri Giriraj mountain. He entered the fruit and vegetable room, and Ramdas was not to be seen. Sri Gosaiji had to prepare the offerings himself and then took it all into the temple. Here Ramdasji was extremely fearful. Whoops! Today was the first day of my seva in the temple, but I did not show up. Sri Gosaiji is bound to be angry. Ramdas then bathed and cleaned all the vessels and entered the seva room. The afternoon period for Srinathji's holy site was opened. Sri Ramdas Ramdas attended. In the evening, when Sri Gosaiji was taking Srinathji's jewellery off after the evening arti, Srinathji addressed him. "Today Ramdas came with me to Gulal Kund. Please do not admonish him." When Sri Gosaiji had made the evening offerings, he stepped outside of the temple. He called Ramdas to one side and said, "O Ramdas, you are most fortunate. You started your seva just today, but Srinathji has already blessed you in this way." Ramdasji said, "O great Maharaj, this has all happened through your grace, without which I was nothing and most unworthy." Sri Gosaiji told him, "From today onwards, just do what Srinathji tells you. Go wherever he tells you to. I will employ someone else for the fruit and vegetable seva. You can do this seva when you have time." Ramdas was very happy and said, "O Maharaj, it is the best path for a human soul to follow your commands." Ramdas engaged himself in seva of the Lord very happily. He would also sit alone and study Sri Acharyaji's written works. He was always chanting the 8 and 5-syllable mantras. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that the devotee's heart becomes pure through the process of chanting the 8-syllable mantra. With the chanting of the 5-syllable mantra, the divine mood of separation is given. Then Sri Govardhanaji grants the experience of his divine pastimes. Vaishnavas should constantly chant the 8 and the 5-syllable mantras. The reason why Sri Gosaiji got Ramdas to do this chanting while sitting in front of the Dandavati Shila is that the Dandavati Shila represents the lotus feet of Sri Giriraji, who is the foremost servant of the Lord. There is no doubt that when a devotee stays close to Sri Giriraji, they will very soon attain the nectar of the Lord's person and pastimes. Raj K. Ananda Ki Jai. We will continue tomorrow with part 1 of Ramdas's Seva to Sri Govardhanaji. We take rest here. Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.